Alright, last part of the review. Okay, these are ionic formula units and you have to draw the Lewis structures of them. Okay, remember that the ionic Lewis structures will look very different from the covalent Lewis structures because the bonds are not the same. Okay, we are going to use arrows to indicate the transfer of electrons and box the final structures. So number 26, CAS. We are going to draw one Ca and one S, and the reason is because they have no subscripts. Okay, alright, Ca has 2 valence electrons based on where it is on the periodic table. Okay, and S has 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so there are the 6 valence electrons for sulfur. Alright, now what's going to happen is Ca is going to give its valence electrons to sulfur. So sulfur will get its 8 and Ca will also be happy. So our final structure is going to be Ca with no dots. Put a bracket around it. It now has a charge of +2 because it gave away 2 electrons. And sulfur now has 8 dots. And since it received 2 electrons, it's now going to have a -2 charge. Okay, and that's our final structure. Box it up. Alright, number 27, Na2S. There are 2 sodium atoms. So I'm going to draw them twice. And I have 1 sulfur atom. Okay, Na has 1 valence electron, so 1 dot on each of the sodiums. And the sulfur has 6 valence electrons, just like the last one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now this sodium will give its 1 valence electron to the sulfur, and this sodium will also give its 1 valence electron to the sulfur. Alright, so now sodium is satisfied by kicking off its 1 extra electron, and now it has a +1 charge, and it's +1 for both of them. Okay, and sulfur has gained 2 electrons and is now a -2 charge. Okay, that's our final answer. Box it up. Alright, number 28, Sr3N2. There are 3 strontium atoms. Now strontium, if you look on the periodic table, is in group 2, so it's going to have 2 valence electrons. And I have 2 nitrogen atoms. And nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, the strontium atoms are going to give their extra electrons to the nitrogen. Okay, and will work out pretty evenly. Okay, there we go. So now each of the SRs has lost 2 electrons, so it's going to be a +2 charge for all 3. Okay, and N now has its 8 valence electrons that it wanted, and since it had gained 3 electrons, it's going to be a -3 charge. Okay, and that really is it for the Lewis structures for ionic compounds. Now these are pretty easy. The real challenges on the test, I won't tell you if they are covalent or ionic. So you actually need to figure out whether you need to draw them like this or if you need to draw them like the top section. Okay, so how do you know if it's going to be ionic? If it's ionic, it's between a metal and a non-metal. Okay, so if it's a metal with a non-metal, then draw them like this. Okay, if everything involved in the molecule are all non-metals, then draw them in this format.